Okay, we're up to Yud Dalin Amid Beis. Yud Dalin Amid Beis. We went through a sugya. Late Reb Shimon. Reb Shimon says in the Mishnah that let's go back to the Mishnah on Yud Gimel Amid Aleph and see what Reb Shimon says, because everything is predicated upon Reb Shimon. So the Mishnah had said that if you do any Shalol Lishma, in one of the four avodas, in the Shechita, the Kabbalah, the Halacha, Zrika, it will go ahead, and it's a chatas, it's going to pass the carbon. That's what he said. Reb Shimon is machshe behiluch. Now go up from where the lines get wide, go about 5 lines. Reb Shimon machshe behiluch. Reb Shimon says if you have a machshava shaloi lishma by halacha, it would not passel. Shahaya omer efshe shaloi b'shchita. It's not possible to get away with shchita. Ushaloi b'kabbalah, ushaloi b'zrika al malefshe b'lahiluch. But it's possible b'lahiluch. So how is that possible? Shochet b'tzad hamizbeach v'zayrik. If you would go ahead and shecht on the side of the mizbeach and spritz. Okay, so guys, it's important right now. Let's right now. If we'd stop right now, what would you say, Leit Reb Shimon? Let's say I'm a distance away from the mizbeach and I'm walking towards it, and I think a machshava shaloi lishma. Would it passel? No, because Reb Shimon is saying that what it doesn't exist. Period. In other words, once you could do away with it. So then, even if you're in a situation where you have to go ahead and walk, not okay. That's important to know. That's important to know. Okay. I thought I saw Chaim Lax here. Chaim, why are you hiding? You're hiding behind this young man. Yeah. This seats we could see. Okay. Let's just. I like to. You saw the Gemara in Harius. At the end of Harius, we had a Gemara Chaim that said, it's a school of remembering Torah. You have to see the Rebbe. So if you see the back of Rami Weinrib, all you're going to end up doing is just driving to Waterbury nonstop. You're just going to just and then driving to Waterbury.
And asking about smoked chicken.
Right. Okay. So now we're starting on Yud Dalin Amid Beis. Yud Dalin Amid Beis. It's about 12 lines up. Itmar, Ula, Amr Balaza, Halacha Bizar Psula, Afilu Reb Shimon. That Halacha Bizar Psula, Afilu Reb Shimon. In other words, even though Halacha is, you can do away with it, but if it has a Shem Avoida that if a Zar would do it, it would be possible. Iboilahu. Halacha Shaloi Beregal. Meaning you're moving it along, but not as a result of moving your feet. You're stationary and you're moving your arms, and you're transporting it with your arms. So you're a kohen, you're going to the next kohen, but you're not moving your feet. So halacha shloi beregel shma halacha, ilay shma halacha. Is it considered halacha or not? Would it pass? Would it go ahead, Rod? And passel or not? That's what the Gemara wants to know. If you'd have a machshava without moving your feet, would it passel or not? Says Rashi, Shma halacha upasla ba machshava lirabanan, loy terabanan oyim asazar psula, aylay shma halacha v'loy pasla machshava. So if a zar would go ahead and do it, would it passel? Or loy terabanan? Right, not like Reb Shimon, the Shiler is. So that's the question. Like the Rabbanan, what would it then be if you're going ahead and transporting it without moving your legs? Tashma. Okay, we saw this morning, fellas. If you look at the Amid Aleph, Yudal and Amid Aleph, we saw this morning. Masir Rav Sheshes. This is speaking about halacha. Zar v'aynein Amid Beis Ardaf Shikor Balmum b'Kabbalah b'Haylacha b'Zrika Pasal v'Chein Yoshev. So, and also Yoshev is puzzle. Now, how are you doing the avodah by sitting, fellas? What are you doing? Well, you could be doing Zrika, you could be doing Kabbalah, you also could be doing Halacha. Yeah. Now, what would you be doing? L'chayr, if you're sitting, you'd be handing it, correct? So why is it puzzle now? Because you're sitting. What happens if you do the same thing when you're standing? It would be kasha. So in other words, you see that what it is considered a halacha. Again, the diak. The reason why it's your puzzle is because you're sitting. Now, again, explaining the avoida you would do in the act of sitting. The avoida you would do in the act of sitting. What's the avoida you do? You could be doing a zrika, you can be doing a kabbalah, you can be doing halacha, you can be doing a shchita. Okay, if you're doing a halacha, what are you doing? Pashtus, what are you doing? It must be you're passing it along with your hands. Yes? Or else, right. Now, if that's the case, then why is it puzzle? Only because you're sitting. What happens if you did the same thing while standing? It would be a good halacha. So let's be poishit from Brisa that we mentioned this morning that halacha hayad shloi regel is in fact halacha. Okay, and therefore Vazar did it with pasel, and therefore if you had machshava, according to the Rabbanan, it would also pasel if it's a chatas. Okay, so beautiful diak. Let's see it inside. Tashma v'chein yoshiv v'chein small pasel, sitting and doing the avodah small pasel. Lenny, up to Yudalit Amid Beis, a few lines up. Ha'oimed dumya diyoshev. But if you were standing and doing the same thing you were doing while you were sitting, kasha, it would be a good halacha. So let's be poished the shaila guys that halacha al yedei lo al yedei regel shema halacha. Says the Gemara, no, dilma yoshev. What are you doing? The kashayf miyashev. Guys, you know what you're doing? You're schlepping your chair along. You know, you're going like this. You're going like this. You're going like this. In other words, we thought you're doing this. No, it's lav dafka. It could be you're doing your. So in other words, that therefore you don't have a diak, right? Because that is if I'm doing that, what's the equivalent to standing? You're moving. You're moving. So therefore you have no raya. Therefore you have no raya. So maybe dilma that what it's speaking that what where you are the kashayashef my shift. You're going ahead and you're schlepping yourself along. And therefore, oimei dumya the yoshev would be denied porta that you're moving a little bit, and therefore you have no raya. Okay, so again, what's a shaila? A shaila is if you're stagnant, you're stationary, and you're moving along with your hands, you're passing it along. What's the halacha? What's the halacha? Is it considered halacha? Halacha? What's the halacha? It's considered halacha or not? And the answer is that we don't know yet. The answer is we failed to be patient from here. Umay kamash malon, and what's okay? Oh, Tashma, Shachid Yisrael. Okay, this is speaking by the Korban Pesach. Shachid Yisrael. I think it's speaking by the Korban Pesach. Yes. Shachid Yisrael. Now shchit is kosher bizarre. The kibul kayin. The kayin does kabbalah. Nasnu lechaveiroi. The chaveru lechaveiroi, and you pass it along. Right? So l'chayra, you have a raya that it is a good halacha. You have a raya that it's a good halacha. Says the Gemara, you have no raya. Hasanami denied porta. It could be speaking where you moved a little bit. It could be you moved your legs a little bit. Umay kamashvalon. So if it's speaking where you moved your legs a little bit, why do you need so many kahanim? And that the Gemara answers, B'roiv am hadras melech. As a result of many people being involved in the Korban Pesach, it brings glory to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. As a result of many people doing it, it brings glory to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tashma. Okay. Tashma. Kibel hakosher, the nasan lipsul, if the kohen who's kosher, and he mekabel the dam in a kli, the nasan, and he takes the kli and he gives it to a puzzle, someone, a kohen who can't do the avodah. He's a balmum or he's a tameh, whatever it is. Yachzer lekosher, the psul goes ahead and brings it back to what? He gives it back to the kosher. He gives it back to him. Okay. So what's your raya over here, guys? If giving it to him was a halacha, it would be puzzle already. So l'chayra, by the fact that you can give it back, shows that it's not a halacha. You took it, and you gave it to a psul, right? If the giving it to him is puzzle, then l'chayra, it's a raya that it's not a halacha. Let's see Rashi. Yachshir l'kasha shenasnu loy. The puzzle gives it back to the kasha who gave it to him. Vashmin and tarti. And you hear two things. There's no psul that there was a psul. It's not possible that there was a psul in the middle mitten therein. Vashmin ba doilacha zu shasa hakasha shaloi beregel. that this kasha did shlei beregel shahoyset lebesul shahoya oimei b'tzadim mizbeach leinaseh behachsher v'lo yishma al. So l'chayra, it's right diktani yachsirenu lemisha nastulai v'hay lacha shlei beregel shmoi lacha amay yachsirenu la'achar yavi kasha v'yelena miyadai l'tzadim mizbeach v'zel lo yishitenu lai ela demaisa itztaba ma'alma of it. In other words, guys, here's the following. If this person, the Kayin, gave it, and that's considered a halacha, then why doesn't somebody pick it up on the other side? So you have, look, yeah, guys, here's a Kayin, here's a Psul, and here's another Kayin. Why do we say, if he gives it to him, he has to give it back to him? He has to give it back to him. Now, if it was a good halacha, that, in other words, that this guy's just stationary there, and therefore he's like not doing the avoidance, I might say it's stable, let's say, right? And this guy is just passing it along, then let this person on the other side, but we don't say that. We say this person has to give it back. It's dacharaya, it's not halacha. It's dacharaya, that it's not halacha. The fact that what? He has to give it back. Okay, the fact that he gives it back is a raya that it's not halacha. So says the Gemara, well, and maybe it's not a raya. A kasha goes ahead and it's a makabla on the other side. So, in other words, I can read this brisa, not that you go backwards, but yachzir, let the apostle can't bring it, so let someone that in this case, in other words, einachinami, let this person pick it up on the other side, and if he picks it up on the other side, is a raya that it is a good halacha. Again, the question is the first guy giving it to psul. He's not moving; he's just handing it over. You want to know if there's there's a halacha over here. Again, the shaila is like the Rabbanan, not Reb Shimon, right? So you need a halacha, yes? I mean, it's pashtus. So you're farther away from the mizbeach. Every step closer is a halacha. So now, if you're telling me that this guy has to give it back to him, is a raya that this transaction was not a halacha, because that's why he's giving it back. On the other hand, if this transaction was a halacha, then let a kohen pick it up on the other side. What does that mean?
The kohen that's puzzled, right? He's not allowed to...
Again, he's whatever it is, he's puzzled through the avodah, but he happens to be there. It's forget the pragmatic of it. What's the halacha if he is there? Well, again, he shouldn't be there. What happens if he is there, and you give it to him? Good. So here's the shaila. He's there. You gave it to him. What do you do? What do you do? So, if you're telling me you pick it up on the other side, then this act is an act of halacha. Well, I'm passing it along. If on the other hand you have to go backwards, then it's not. In the Havmin of the Gemara, we thought, going backwards, it's not. What's the teretz? No. You picking it up on the other side. Amos say, Yachzeh HaKasha, let the kasha then go ahead, v'yekabla, and be makabel it where? On the other side, and transport it. Itmar. Amar Ula, Amar Rabbi Yochanan, Halacha shlei beregel lo yishma halacha. So it's right. It's and so therefore, if you have a machshava without moving your feet of pigel, it's not going to be pigel. Right? It's not going to be pigel. And if halacha shlei lishma by chatas, it's not going to passel it. Right? And you're not permitted to do it. So that's what he's not saying a proof from anywhere. He's giving you a statement. Rabbi Ula is saying the name Rabbi Yochanan, halacha shlei beregel lo yishma halacha. Now, here's the shaila. Efsha litakuna or lo efsha litakuna. Rashi. Bein shasa zar, whether a zar did the halacha, bein shasa koyin, or whether a koyin did it, or whether a koyin did the halacha, the umrah, the ena halacha, that you're saying that shaloi beregel is not upsula, the nasis shaloi kilch, so you didn't do it correctly. Miu yeshle takona lachzira lachayrecha, v'lachza lahoylech beregel, ayin le takona. Rabbi Yochanan said the following, guys. So koyin goes ahead, gives it to a person. Lo yishma halacha, right? Is there backsies or not? Can you go back and correct it or not? Do we say once it's puzzle, it's gone, it's out? Or do we say it's efshalit kune, it's possible to go ahead and correct? That's the Gemara Shaila. Again, all the Shaila of halacha. Hashma. Let's be pushed to the Shaila. Kibul akasha, the kosher kohen is makabelit. The nasan lipsul, and he gave it to a kohen who's pasul. Yachzil kosher. Good. So the chayre you have a raya that what? That you could be matakin it. You have a raya the chayre that you could be matakin it. Unehi nami the yachze kosher v'yikablenu, and now you tell me that the kosher takes it back. Isal kedaitach lo yefshel the tekuna ifsula. Right. It should be what? It should be pasul. If you're telling me that what he's taking it back, but it could be it's too late because once he took it already, it should be pasul. So says the Gemara, Mi savis the koi zor gavoy. Do you think this zor is standing closer to the mizbeach? Zor zor mi savis the koi zor gavoy lie. The koi zor baroy. You know what? You could take it back, guys. You're not bringing it closer to Mizbeach. The Zor, you gave it to him, he's farther away from Mizbeach. So therefore, you could take it back because you're going away. Right? You're going away from it. Rashi. Misavis the Kozoi Gavoy Litzad Mizbeach, Shehikriv Harishoin, Boishiyata Litzad HaMizbeach. Do you think that what? That when the Kohen gave it to the Zor, when the Kohen gave it to the Zor, you think that's the psul? You think that what? You went closer to Mizbeach? Loi. It's speaking. It's not a lacha lifsal. We view the zar in the mitten as he was just being like a stand. The leka hoishiyad hamakarva lemizbeach, because there's no. Again, it has to be fellas that the act of taking is bringing it closer to the mizbeach. If he's not bringing closer to the mizbeach, he's just ma'asid staba. Then it's so. Therefore, you can't be poished from here. Itmar, Ama Ulam Rabbi Yochanan. Again, this is the same Ula said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan. What did he say on the Amid Aleph? Again, it's the same people. What did he say on the Amid Aleph? He said that what? It's Lo Yishma Halacha. He says Lo Yishma Halacha. Amulam Rabbi Yochanan Halacha Shlei Beregel Psula. Now he's telling you that not only is Lo Yishma Halacha, but it's pasels. Right? Pasla. Right? Rashi. Vafilu Asa Koyen Paiselis Hadam. In other words, this is different. He added the component that it's puzzle. If you do that, he doesn't say that. He doesn't say that lo yishma halacha. He's saying, and if you do it, there's no tikkun. It's puzzle. We see by the Korban Pesach they passed it along. They were saying that they moved a little bit. They moved a little bit. So this is okay. Alma, what do you see? Like Efshalit Kuna, like Rabbi Yochanan, it's not possible to go ahead and be metakin it. Esvir of Nachman Ula. If Nachman's asked Ula the following question from a Mishnah later on. Okay, fellas, let's speak out something outside and make things easier. You did a shchita, you did a Kabbalah, and it falls on the floor. Can you pick it up and use it again? What would you say? Okay, I'll tell you. The answer is you could. Why? Because once you did a Kabbalah, the dam was in a receptacle, and that it fall doesn't passel it. If you shechted the animal and the dam went directly on the ritzbah, then it would not be good. Why? Because you didn't have a Kabbalah. So here's the shaila at hand. You go ahead, you shech the animal, it falls in the kli, and now falls on the floor. Isn't automatically some of the blood going to get closer to the mizbeach? You shech the animal, falls in the kli, so you did a Kabbalah. Now it falls on the floor. You told me it's kosher, right? But 1 second. Isn't some of the blood, I assume, going closer to the mizbeach an act of halacha? So if you're telling me that halacha shelo al yedei regel is not a good avodah, how could I take it back? How could I take it back? That's going to be the shaila. So it says Esivei Rav Nachman Ula. You Ula who said that halacha shlei b'regel pasels. Halacha shlei b'regel pasels. Right? What's going on? Nishbach min hakli ala ritzba v'asvoi kasha. If it falls from the kli on it's kasha. Rashi. Nishbach min hakli ala ritzba. If it falls from the kli on the ground, v'asu when you gather together kasha. Hoyel v'niskabel b'kli. Since it was in the kli, mishni b'perek shlishi, b'chal apsulim, and kasal kedaitach Kishenishbach, when it spilled, v'nispashet beritzba, and it spread on the floor. Niskari v'tzadim mizbeach, it became close to the mizbeach. Ukitani kasha. Unehi nami da'armit itzorach lachziroi lachayrov, right? V'lachza ulahoylech beregel, v'komokim v'takanta sagila. And good, you told me that what? That if you put it back in, you have to go back and return it again, right? V'komokim, you could go ahead and correct it, but the bottom line is, according to apostles, it should be gone. It should be no good whatsoever. And for the Gemara, you know when it fell, guys? Right? It fell towards the outside. Nafik gavai loy. Hachmaiskin kashiyatza lechutz lebroi, and nafik legavai loyayel. Am I reading this correctly? I hope so. Okay. Says the Gemara. Lebroi nafik legavoi loyayel. Good. B'mokim madroin, it's speaking about a place that what? There was an incline. Fellas, the ritzvah was inclined a little bit. So that when it fell away from his beach. It fell away from his beach. Ibo Yisema Beguma. This is a teretz. This is a teretz. The teretz is that if it's inclined, it's going to be going away from the mizbeach. So you don't have the shaila of in achnami. If the halacha went forward, since it was done shleya de regel, it would passel. Again, we're going according to the sheet of Rabbi Yochanan that it passels. Good.
Even without Kabbalah?
What? You had a Kabbalah. You had a Kabbalah. Yeah. Again, without a Kabbalah, it's gone. You had a Kabbalah and it fell on the ground. What's the kasha? When it falls on the ground of the ritzpah, obviously some of the blood did a halacha towards the mizbeach. That was shleya de regel. And lo you that passels, but it says it's kasha. What's the answer? There was an incline, so it didn't go towards the mizbeach. It went towards away from the mizbeach. So there's no halacha. Ibo Yisema beguma, or there was a hole there, and therefore it went in the hole, and therefore it never went to the mizbeach. Ibo Yisema besmicha, right? It's speaking where it's thick coagulated blood. So since it's thick, it's not flowing away. Good. Okay. Fred the Gemara, two kashas. The ichbel tana lashminan kohani. Guys, what does the Mishnah say? You go ahead, you shech the animal, you do a Kabbalah, and it falls on the floor, it's kasha. But the heicha timtzah that's kasha is, it's got to be speaking either an incline, or a hole, or thickness. The Mishnah is you're going to give me three ukimtis to go ahead and set in the Mishnah? Usually the Mishnah, one ukimta, yes, but three possibilities, that's pshat in the Mishnah? It's like ola al das that's pshat. Okay, now, secondly, guys, outside. How many times have I told you over the years that the Gemara will only bring in another case because it doesn't tell you, you didn't hear it, you couldn't possibly hear it in the first case. In other words, liflog v'lisna b'dida. In other words, if I bring you case one and I can hear both halachas in case one, I'm not going to bring you case two. Watch. They bring the Mishnah. What happens if you shecht and it falls directly on the floor? It's puzzle. Why would you need that case? I could tell me a case it's puzzle even when you makabel b'kli. If it went in the kli, it fell on the floor, and it went towards the mizbeach. You wouldn't need to tell me case number two. Again, the big rule of thumb is the Rebbe would only tell you a second din because you couldn't hear it in the first din. You could not hear it in the first din. You couldn't hear it. Good. So right now you're telling me the only way it's puzzle is if you shechted and you didn't do a Kabbalah and it fell on the floor. But 1 second, I could tell you a case of puzzle even without it falling directly on the floor. I could tell you a case of puzzle when it was makabel b'kli. What's that case? It fell on the floor and it drifted towards the mizbeach. And therefore, but since you didn't tell me that, it must be, it's kasha. So it's a kasha on Ulin, the neighbor of Yochanan, that you said halacha pasels. You said halacha pasels. How can you say halacha pasels? If that's the case, even when you're makabel b'kli, it should be pasel. As I read the Gemara. So two questions. First of all, you tell me all the ichvatana lashminan v'oid adetani beidich pirkin nishbach ala ritzba. If it falls directly on the ground, v'asvu pasel liflug bidida. You should don't tell me the chiddush by the kli itself. B'mer devam amurim that it's kasha b'kli is kishiyatza lechutz. That's only if it goes to the back, away from the Mizbeach. Aval nichnas lefnim, if it goes towards the Mizbeach, puzzle. Tiyufta. This is an upshlag on Ula who said that halacha shelo yidei regel pasels. Guys, tiyufta, you're out. Guys, you good? Okay. Itmar. Halacha shelo beregel. We're still hacking this. Machlokes Rav Shimon Rabbanon. It's a machlokes between Rav Shimon and the Rabbanon. Okay. Now again, we met Rav Shimon, guys. What did Rav Shimon say? Guys, we met Rav Shimon. What did Rav Shimon say? Since you could do away with halacha because you could shech right next to the mizbeach, memela, even if you shecht away from the mizbeach, a machshava won't passel. Good. That leads itself to a big question right away off the bat. Okay, so don't. If you're bothered by it, there's a good reason. We want to suggest now that doing halacha shloya de regel is a machlokes tanoim, Reb Shimon v'Rabbanon. Now, b'halacha Rabasi, where you have to walk a distance, the kuliyam le pligi dipsula. Even Reb Shimon hold your puzzle. Guys, that's shver. That's shver, right? Guys, that's shver. Reb Shimon, regardless wherever you are, it's right. But again, so you see that the shverkeit over here. He's got where you have to walk a distance. There's no machlokes. The Gemara is suggesting that even Reb Shimon would hold that what halacha would passel, because you have to walk to the mizbeach. Ki pligi, when's the machlokes? Ba'ilechas u'trasi, where it's a small distance. It's a small distance, meaning where it's a small distance. Even there, Reb Shimon says go this, and it doesn't passel, and the Chacham say it does. But this is speaking about the mizbeach and the chayshah. This is the outside mizbeach. Now, machku ola b'marava. They laughed at this statement. Ela chata sa'oif the psula. Okay, guys, yediyah time. There are two types of birds you can bring: an oila sa'oif and a chata sa'oif. Right? An oila sa'oif, what the avodah is, you take it and you're above the chut sikra and you smash it against the wall of the mizbeach. The chata sa'oif, you're below the chut sikra and you're doing this. You're taking it and you're doing this. And what's happening when you do this? The blood is growing and the blood is hitting the wall of the mizbeach. The Gemara's havamina right now is when you do this, as soon as the blood leaves the neck of the bird, even before it hits the size of the mizbeach, you did the avodah. Good? As soon as you do this and it leaves the neck, it's an avodah. And you're telling me now, according to Rav Shimon, that this is not an avodah. Halacha is not an avodah. Good? So now, Fred the Gemara Kasha. This is machkol marava. Ela chata sa'oif the psula ba machshava l'Rav Shimon. How could you ever have a machshava of pigel or shaloi lishma by chata sa'oif according to Rav Shimon? Heichim mishkachas la. Ida chashav Allah mekame delefik dam. If you thought about it before the blood left the neck of the bird, lav klumu, you did nothing. The chashav Allah mekame delefik lav klumu. The basa denafik dam. And after the dam left the neck of the bird, is avdallah mitzvasa. Now, guys, bishleim aloy the rabbanon that the action is action of halacha, so you could have in mind and passel. But loy Rav Shimon that it's not a halacha. What action is passeling? Mimanushach. Again, we're speaking about the zicha. There's no shaila about in the malika you could passel. We're speaking about the action of the asiya, the zrika. How can you have a machshava? And we know you could. We know you could. In other words, of course, if he does the malika al manas, that is no shaila. That we're dealing with that action, the second action, the action of going ahead and doing that. Like Rav Shimon, how would you ever have a possibility, right? Mimanav shach l'chayra. If your machshava was before you did this, you did nothing, and afterwards it's too late because you've done kind the mitzvah. That's the Gemara's kasha. Ibasa the nafik dam is abile mitzvasa. Says my kusha. Dilma mid the parish v'adamatul mizbeach. Maybe you know when he had the machshava from the time it left the neck of the animal before it hit the wall of the Mizbeach. The Haboy Mine Rav Yirmiyah Rav Zera, Hayamazeh, a person, the Kohen was Mazeh. He was spritzing, V'nekta Yadai, and he lost his hand, and now he's a Balmum. So he went like this, and then, okay, Heshi, see, these are not practical. What's the halacha? What's the halacha? Again, it doesn't have to be that it happened. What would the halacha be if it did happen? You know, what's the shaila is, what's the shaila, guys? Is it a Balmum who did the avoid or not? Is it about mumu did avoid or not? Now, if you're telling me, guys, listen, if you're telling me that as soon as he does this, before it's the world's mizbeach, who cares what happened to his hand? Then we bring a raya that what the avoid is finished when it hits the wall of mizbeach. Guys, you hear? If you're telling me he's doing this and then he loses his hand, who cares? If the quarterback gets hit, we don't care as long as the ball gets there, right? Right? As long as the ball gets there, we don't care if he gets hit. What happens afterwards? That happens, right? So over here, the blood is leaving the hand. It's going towards the mizbeach. Now neknem yadai. So what's your shaila? Shemneknem yadai shel maza. Actually, giyadam le'aver mizbeach mahu. What's the din? V'amalei psula. It's puzzle. My timer. It says v'hiza v'nasan. The puzzle says v'hiza min adam shiva pa'amim fnei Hashem es pnei paroiches hakodesh v'nasan hakoyim min adam. So it says v'hiza. It says v'nasan. So you need v'hiza similar to v'nasan. So therefore, what do you see? That it becomes puzzle only when it hits the walls of the mizbeach. Good. So therefore, they laughed. This is they laughed. Like Rav Shimon has a puzzle, and what's the answer? What are we laughing about? The point in the time he lifts his hands until it hits the wall of the mizbeach. That's plenty of time to make a I shouldn't say plenty of time, but enough time to make a machshava of pigel. He asked Rav Papa, Rav Huna, Berei V'Shua, Mibei Rav, Amri, Hainu Choicha. This is what they were laughing about. Ubahilacha Rapsi Loi Pligi. They're not arguing by a big walk. More of a key pligi bahilachas Rapsi Pligi. Good for that. This is where they argue. Guys, what did I miss to say? Guys, four avoiders can pass the Shalai L'Shma. One of them was Eilacha. Said of Shimon, no. Said of Shimon, no. So that's good for the machlokes. Why Rav Shimon said no? Because since you can avoid it, since I can do away with it, so even if I'm far away, so what are you talking about? So obviously that gufa is the machlokes. That gufa is the machlokes. That's why I prefaced it with this idea. But v'haki pligi b'halacha rapsi pligi ella b'halacha zutrasi kuli amalei pligi. Now you have two gearses over here. You have gears of Rashi. B'halacha zutrasi kuli amalei pligi de pasla. Where it's a small distance, everyone, even Reb Shimon would say that why the pasla, okay, and keep pligi by lachas rabasi. Now, says Rashi, guys, because we have two gerses over here. Our gersa is it doesn't passel. Everyone agrees it doesn't passel, and we have a gersa Rashi that it does passel. So Rashi is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, about 10 lines from the bottom. Ella b'haylachas utrasi. A small distance, kuliamle pligi de psula garcinon. B'taima mishum the efshel levatel, because you can't be mevatel it. You know, I have to put it on. I have to put it on. So since I have to put it on, I can't avoid it. Even Reb Shimon would say it's pasul. Uman de garis de loy pasla and the agirsa, the one who says you don't pasul, taima mishum de lav klumhi, because what you did is nothing. There's no shame halacha since it's such a small distance. It's all considered zrika. So guys, here you are. Guys, you're right next to the mizbeach, and you're going like this. I'm doing this halacha to go ahead and eat the meat tomorrow. You go like this. You're thinking about halacha. But what are you doing? There is no halacha. There's no shame halacha. It's rika. So even the chachamim would be moed in that case, since you were thinking about the halacha, and it really wasn't halacha. It's rika. It won't passel. That's the gersa that we have. That's the gersa that we have. Okay. The bottom line is the machlokes would be a big distance away. Okay. Gushmak. Haylichu zar. A zar goes ahead. A zar goes ahead. And he walks towards the mizbeach. V'chziru kayin. V'chazu hakayin ve'alichu. So the zor walks, and then the kohen takes it back, and then the kohen walks. That halacha. Pligi ba b'nei Rav Chia v'Rav Yanai. Chad ama kasha, it's good. V'chad ama pasel. Mar Sava Efshalit Kuna, the one who says it's kasha, says it's possible to go ahead and be mitakin. The halach is possible mitakin. Umas Savar, and the one who says it's possible holds what? Efshalit Kuna. He holds that what? It's loy Efshalit Kuna. It's not possible to go ahead what? So I saw a very nice interpretation over here. What the lumdus over here is.
The same thing.
Yeah, again, we're saying it's a machloikas. So now, the Gemara concluded before that halacha shloi beregel, right? It's possible to correct. So the question is over here, why not? What's the difference, guys, over here, where shloi beregel you said you could correct, and over here you're saying when you physically walk with your foot, you can't correct. You hear the chiluk, guys? Before we said it's possible to correct when you passed it along with your hands. Over here, you walked it with your feet. Why over here? What's the difference between passing it along with your hands and it's no good? That you can't, you could correct it, passing along with your hands. And now, like the man the Amma who says, what's the difference over here versus over there? What's the difference here versus over there? And the answer is, when you went ahead and passed it along with your hands, it's not pshat, it's puzzle. Pshat is no halacha at all. If there's no halacha at all, you can go back and correct it. But where the halacha is done al yedei zar, and he comes back, it's already considered a machshav, a halacha psul. That you can't correct. That you can't correct. Guys, listen to a nice lumdis. Why do you? I'm standing still and I'm passing along with my hands, but you could correct that. However, if a zar walks it and then I redo it, right? Mandiyama says you can't correct it. What's the difference? So it says of Chaim Briska, beautiful difference. When you passed it along with your hands, and there was no halacha at all. There wasn't a shem halacha. Whereas Zor takes it, there was a halacha. And that halacha was halacha of psul. And therefore it's uncorrectable, like that mandiyama. That's the difference between the two. Okay, very geschmack. Okay, so now, so this first case was what? Where the Zor did it wrong, and then the kohen corrected it. Could he correct it or not? Good. Now, next case. Halichu kohen v'chziru. The kohen takes it, then he goes back. V'chaz v'lichu zar. So in other words, the kohen goes towards the mizbeach, then he goes away from the mizbeach, and now a zar takes it back. Amrav Simi Barashi l'divrei hamachsher. The one who said that it's kosher, where in the first case where the zar took it and the kohen redid it, here it will be puzzle. The case over there, guys, we go after the zar did it. We went after the last kohen. Good. And over there, why do we go after the last person? The zar did it initially. Who did it now? The kohen. It's good. What happens where the kohen does it and then the zar? So now it's the opposite because you're always going after the last one. Last one.
Once the coin did it, it's done. You can't undo
No,
it.
he went back.
But it was done. It was done.
He went back. He went back.
Once he got there.
Then why he went back? He went back. It's not. He went back. The kohen brought it there ziru. Once it's ziru, it's not there physically. It's not there. You can call it whatever you want, but you need it. I still have to go over here. There's still an act of halacha to be done. So, according to the first case, if the zar did it first and the kohen did it last, so it's in the case where the kohen did it first and the zar did it last, we went after the kohen. So it's the opposite where the kohen did it first and the zar did it last, we're going to go after the zar. So therefore it's puzzle. And the other way around, Uladibre hapoisel, the one who said in the first case where it's puzzle, because you go after the first one, here it's going to be kasha, because the first one was the kohen. Rava Amar afladibre hapoisel, even according to the one who says that the zar takes it and now the kohen is going to take it, that you go after the first one, right? That's the one who would say, that's the one who would passel when the zar did it first. Over here, it's a puzzle. Even though the Kohen did it second, it would puzzle. My timer. What's the reason it would puzzle on the base? That tzarech lam tuye, because after he distanced this is the point, Rabbi Avi. After he distanced the point from right, he's going to have to go back and take it back again. So even though you'll tell me that in the case where the Zar did it first, it's not good, but where the Kohen did it first, it is good. Since the Kohen's going to have to take it back again, it's possible. Only Rav Yirmiyah Ravashi, right? Hachi Amar Rav Yirmiyah Mitifti. The svara tzarech lam tuye, the svara of whether taking it back is considered halacha or not. Machlokes Rabbi Eliezer v'Rabbanan. This is the machlokes between Rabbi Avi and Eliezer Stern. It's basically what it is. You did it already, and you have to take it back. So now, did not Rabbi Eliezer Omer? I didn't and Eliezer Omer hamahalik b'makom shetzarech lahalech. This is our Mishnah. If the kohen goes a place that he has to go, then machshava peiselis is machshava shloi lishma will passel. The makom she'ain tzarech, when he goes to a place she'ain tzarech lahalich, ein machshava peiselis. It doesn't passel, and then it went passel. So Rav Yirmiyah wants to say that gufa it's a machlokes. That gufa it's a machlokes that Rabbi Eliezer would be of the opinion that since what you have to go there, if it would passel. V'amarava hakom moedim. If you're makabel b'chutz, guys, chutz pinim over here means chutz means away from the mizbeach. Pinim means towards the mizbeach. Chutz usually means outside the azara. If it's outside the azara, the blood is gone. So it means chutz means away from the mizbeach. Pinim means towards the mizbeach. But everything's in the azara. Hakom moedim the kibul b'chutz v'chnisu b'fnim. If you makabel the dam away from the mizbeach, and then you bring it towards the mizbeach, and therefore machshava would passel. Kibul b'fnim, if you makabel by the mizbeach, v'yitzil l'chutz, and now you go away from the mizbeach, zehu hilach shein tzarech lahalech. So guys, I'm walking away from the mizbeach and I have a machshava of shloi lishma, nothing. I'm makabel by the mizbeach. I walk away from the mizbeach. That's not halacha. I'm walking the opposite way. So therefore, if I have a machshava shloi lishma when I'm walking the opposite way, it's not going to passel. Only if I'm walking towards the mizbeach. I'm walking the opposite way, it's not going to passel. Like nechelku, what's the machlokes? Ella machlokes in our Mishnah between Rabbi Eliezer and the Rabbanan. Like nechelku ella keshechnisu, when you came towards the mizbeach, v'chazav v'yitziu, and then you distance yourself away from the mizbeach, and then what? You came back to the mizbeach. Good. So guys, watch. Makabel over here. You went over here, and then you came back over here. What's the story on coming back? Again, going this way, zicha, not. Coming back, what's the din? Okay. Masava, the Rabbanon said, right, hatzarech lam tuye. The bottom line is, you have to come back. Since you have to come back, the machshav is going to passel. And Rabbi Eliezer Sava, Rabbi Eliezer holds that what? Lav kihila hatzarech lavoid dami. It's not similar since it was over here and you went that way. Coming back, he says not. Okay, so again, guys, we ask the kasha on that. Again, the following. You makabel over here, you walk over here, everyone says this way, not. Now you're coming back. Question. Like the chachamim, right, the machshava would passel, like Rebbe Elazar, it would not passel. That's what we're saying right now. We're going to bring a brisa that Rebbe Elazar says passel. Esvei Abaya, Rabbi says, Rebbe Elazar, Oimer, Rebbe Elazar is of the opinion, hamahalech b'mokim, shetzorech lahalech, this is our Mishnah. If you go ahead and walk in a place that you have to go, paiselis. That's halacha. You can passel shaloi lishma. Ketzad kiblu b'machutz. You makabel away from the mizbeach. V'chnisu lifnim, and now you're walking towards the mizbeach, and you have a machshava. So zeu hilach shetzarech lahalech. That's when you have to go, and therefore the machshava that you're going to have is going to passel. Kiblu b'fnim. If you makabel near the mizbeach, v'yitzil lechutz. And now you're distancing yourself away and you have a machshava. So hiluch she'ein tzarech leilech. That's one. You don't have to. Good? Now, v'chazav v'chnisu hiluch tzarech lahalechu. But now when you come back, that's something that's necessary. That's something that's necessary. So what do you see? That Rebbe Elazar would be moida, then in fact, machshava would passel. So Amalei Rava said to Abaya, Tanya. If you have such a brisa, you have such a brisa, and I sit or stand corrected. That even there's no machlokes. Everyone would hold if you're makabel here and you go here, going away, not, but coming back, since what you need it, it would go ahead and passel. Hadron lecha kol azvachim, hadron lecha kol azvachim, hadron lecha kol azvachim. We don't have a minion? You have a minion? Beautiful. Ananya ben Akash Reimer, Ratza Kodesh Baruch Hu Zakas Es Yisrael, Lefikach Hirim Torah Mitzvahs. Shneimar. Adnoich Hafetz, Leman Sidkoi, Yagdal Torah V'Yadir.
Amen.